there was a time when I just felt tired all the time. All I was doing was working, and I was tired after work, and that was it. And now I'm like super busy all the time, always have something to do, and I have so much energy. And I remember when I was in college, I was always doing something, even with classes, I was always involved in some way, shape, or form, in multiple ways, to be quite frank. So naturally, I'm a busy bee. I like to be involved. I like to be doing things. I like to socialize. I like to have conversations. I like to network. I like to build, grow, learn, all of those things. And when I wasn't doing that, I wasn't being as creative. My internal person, I guess you could say, personage or whatever, was being affected by it. Like, me as a person was not feeling fulfilled and lively because I wasn't doing anything, literally. I was just so tired. So the first thing I would recommend doing, if you are somewhere that is draining, leave. You are not trapped. Despite what it may feel like, you are not trapped. You can leave. Now, I'm not saying to just jump out if you don't have any money saved up, or if you do have money saved up for something else. I'm not saying to just make a irrational emotional decision and just leave right now. No, I'm saying pack your bags and get ready to go. Like, when you move from a house, you don't just move one day. If you're planning to move, you have to find a real estate agent or realtor, whatever. You have to look up different houses. You have to go to showings. Yeah, there's like a whole process. And then you have to pack your stuff. And you have to move. And then you might have to sell your old house, or you might have to do X, Y, and Z. There is a process, okay? So there's going to be a process when it comes to you leaving your job that you don't like, that isn't serving you, so that you can get to a new job that you do like, that will serve your interests, that will help you find things that you like to do and things. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it can be better. It can be better. And then what I started doing was so first off, I got to a job that I did not hate. That was the first thing. Because if you're spending most of your waking hours somewhere that you hate, it's going to be a lot harder to get up, because you're dreading waking up every day. You're dreading seeing that crazy person, that crazy boss. You're dreading that situation. So getting the energy to wake up and continue is challenging in that situation, because life is lifing. Like, life is happening regardless. Outside of that, in your personal life and what's happening in America and just the world in general, it's enough to make anybody stress out, especially if you're super immersed in that situation. So waking up to a job that you really, really despise, I think compounds to that, and it really drains energy. So the first thing would be to leave the job that you hate, because you can possibly find something that you like to do, and at a minimum, you can find somewhere that you don't hate. It doesn't have to mean that you're like jumping for joy every time you walk through the building, but you don't have to absolutely abhor like getting up and going to where you're going. You don't have to hate it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is to incrementally add more things to do after work. All right. So hold on, let me go say hi. I'll be right back. I'm back. So what I first started doing when I was like, you know what, it's time for me to expand. It's time for me to grow. It's time for me to really take control of my life, is I started teaching. I added one day a week where I started teaching this thing. And it wasn't even like actually weekly when I first started. It was like every once in a while I was teaching a hair care healthy class to children and then to adults as well. And that's how I just started. It was like randomly. And then when I got used to that, I remembered, oh yeah, I'm Zumba certified. So then I added a weekly Zumba class. No. First, I added a weekly like hair care friend club, which has now turned into Imagination Land Club. And then or friendship club, whatever. And then I remembered that I was Zumba certified. And so then I started teaching Zumba once a week to children as well, because I really am passionate about working with children. But I added it sporadically, and then I created it more frequently in my experience. And that just helped me realize, okay, I can work full time and do these other things, these other projects I'm doing, and teach. And it's allowing me also to earn a consistent income independently. So that's pretty great too. And that's money that I don't touch. It's just there. It's accumulating. I don't even know how much is in there. I'm not looking. I'm not paying any attention to it other than, occasionally I'm going in, but I'm also becoming more fiscally responsible. So I just would rather leave it there. And as I'm discovering, what happens next. So yes, there's that. And then as I started doing that, I started taking myself out on dates more often. I'm very, very big on taking myself out on dates because I believe how you treat yourself is the bare minimum standard of how you will allow others to treat you. So my bare minimum standard of what I will accept, expect, and reject has changed significantly in all ways of my life since I've really taken myself on dates, because I always have taken myself out on dates, but now I go a little bit more on the dates that I take myself on. Like I'll go a little bit more expensive. I'll go out a little bit longer. I'll travel a little bit further. So I've always been that way, but now I'm taking it seriously. And then on top of that, I like to take my loved ones out on individual dates as well. So whether it's a sibling or parent or whoever, it's just great. I love to treat. I love to come up with a surprise and get the tickets for whatever it is, and then just like, hey, this is what we're doing. Are you busy this day? No, you're free. Okay, cool. This is how we're gonna, spend that day. You know what I'm saying? And it just feels great. So I love doing that. And so I started doing things I love more and more and more and more. And then thankfully, with working with the children, I found something that I actually really, really adore doing. And then, so I'm teaching these classes sporadically, and it's like things just started improving one day. And it's only happened once so far, but I'm still counting it. A therapist reached out to me to teach a camp for a bunch of children. And it was the most money, because granted, I do go to fairs and things, because I'm also an artist and I paint, and my sister and I paint, and we, I was just talking to someone yesterday. I have to chart out what next year's festivals are going to look like. I totally forgot. But, we're not finished the year yet. But anyway, I got to chart out and see, which festivals we're going to attend and all that type of stuff. But as I was doing that, so I already did things, but it's something about really, really finding the things that make your heart really, really sing, loud, louder, loudest. So for me, painting, and the painting aspect makes my heart sing, and it just allows me to have clarity of thought and just let my mind completely wander and go somewhere, that I might not be physically. Because when I'm painting on clothing, specifically bucket hats, when I'm painting on hats, it's like I'm nowhere to be found in that situation. I'm here, but mentally, I'm just flying all over the place. Just my mind is just flowing. And it's the one thing that I can say that I don't have to think about, because the painting is typically, unless I'm planning something or I had a dream about something, typically painting is purely instinctual when I'm doing it for my clothing. So it just allows me to really zone out and just and be in that space. So it's a clarity of thought thing. So it makes my heart sing, but it doesn't make my heart go crazy. It's like a, right? So that's the first thing. Then for me, going to the actual events. So like making the art is one thing, but actually going to the events and seeing people appreciate and purchase my art is a completely different can of worms. It's a completely different thing. It feels totally different. There's a totally different interaction. People are coming up, we're having communication, we're talking, we're getting to know each other. And to be quite frank, it is an indescribable feeling, to be 1,000% honest with you. It's very indescribable, but it's absolutely amazing, and 10 out of 10 would recommend. And that's something that I like. I like to be out. I like to go with my sister, because that's the thing that, like, that's our thing together that we really do together, because we paint together, we vend together. It's our thing, right? It's amazing. And so I like getting to show her what a version of being in business looks like, and you can make money from your art, you know. You actually can. So I made the most that day, but it took the longest time to do. So like I do make a pretty good amount, but I haven't got to the point where I know how much is profit and how much is, like, you know, just like revenue coming in, you know what I'm saying, like money coming in. But you know, that's besides the point for right now, for the purpose of this. But when I taught that Zumba class and that teacher came, I made the most that I've ever made in a single hour, because there were more students, it turned out, but it's fine. But she paid for 30 students for 1 hour. So I taught 30 students for 1 hour, and I charged them $10 per head. And that was the $300 hour. And so to this day, that's the most I've ever made in a single hour. And so that came from teaching Zumba to children. So it's kind of like you just do what feels good. And so in alignment with the heart sing conversation, I went from, okay, now I'm doing this. Vending at art festivals makes my heart sing quite loud. Then we go from vending at art festivals. The next thing that makes my heart sing is teaching my students. So I would say, like, and it's very specific things that make my heart sing when it comes to that. It's like because I'm very, very complimentary of them. So when I see that, oh wow, I can see that moment. And I thought it was a fluke, because of my Imagination Land Club, which is like friendship club. It's a really like interactive one-on-one to group or whatever, because right now I have one student in that class, but so it's really impactful, personal. So it didn't shock me when I saw this little thing when she was like, because I said, oh, you're so smart, because she is smart. And the children are fantastic. I love young people. I love old people. I hate to say old. I like to say seasoned, because you get better with age. But I love being and working with the various age groups. Especially, I have a real soft spot for children and protecting their innocence. That's the most important thing. But anyway, so I was like, oh, you know, you're so smart, but like, that was a great idea. That's what it was. I was like, that was such a great idea, but I know that was going to be a great idea, because you're very smart and you always have great ideas. And she goes, I was like, okay. And so I was like, okay, you know, that makes sense though. It does make sense that a child that you interact with more one-on-one, because she's the only one in the class right now, that would make sense. So then when having in my Zumba class, I was like, wait a minute, what? And I forgot what happened. It was kind of the same thing though. It was like we're winding down. And in this particular Zumba class, there's only one student as well. But we're dancing. We're not sitting down playing with puppets and coming up with commercials and all that stuff. We're not doing that in this class. And in the Zumba class, we're dancing. So when something occurred and she said something similar, and I said the same thing, because it was a really great idea, and she does always have really great ideas. It's the truth. So she did the little nose thing, and that made me feel so so good and so full of energy, for lack of a better term. It absolutely did. And you know why? I think it's because it showed me that I do have an impact, and I felt really appreciated for something that I love doing. So I was like, okay, this makes sense too. So that also made my heart sing, and it started to give me more energy. You see where I'm adding up to here? It's like the things that I like doing, and I'm doing them more, it made everything much better. So then now I have more energy than ever, because I'm doing my art festivals. I'm about to plan out next year, and I'm going to see my sister, so perhaps we can plan it together and do it when she's available as well. So that started to give me more energy. Then teaching the children is giving me more energy. Taking myself out on really nice dates is giving me more energy. What else is giving me more energy? Finding work, because the last place I worked and the new place I work, it's a much different vibe than what I was at in previous experiences. And so waking up and not hating my job every day is giving me more energy. And then I was like, okay, now I'm doing this. So then I started working out. That's giving me more energy, eating better. And so it was like little by little, a little becomes a lot. And that's one of the quotes. I don't know who said that, but that's one of the quotes that has really resonated with me. And I get like married to quotes. And so that's one that I got married to. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. And over time, you can accumulate and you get the compound interest of your efforts of energy. Because now when I did my let's just say Zumba, because it's one to remember. So I went from, okay, now I have 1 + 1 energy. Now I have 1 + 2. So instead of getting to 2 next time, now I'm getting to 3. That makes sense, because instead of doing 1 + 1, which is just like job. So you're just doing 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. Now I'm doing 2 + 1, 2 + 1, 2 + 1, 2 + 1. So the energy is compounding. That's why I like compound interest. And I always say you should reinvest your dividends, but that's not financial advice. Okay. But anyway, you reinvest your dividends, reinvest your dividends, reinvest your dividends. Okay, who said that? Wasn't me. I don't know, but do it. Reinvest your dividends. Okay. So anyway, but I reinvested my dividends when it comes to my energy, because now, okay, I have 2 + 1, 2 + 1. Then I added something else that I enjoy, and then it added. So then I started volunteering, and there's some really great volunteering organizations, because I have tried to find great volunteering organizations time after time. And it was so hard. But you know what ended up happening? I was doing a outreach campaign for weuniqueworld.com. That's WEUNIK world. And that's my mom and I's hair care line and educational resources. So I was doing that, right? And I was just like doing some outreach to organize classes and learnings and things of that magnitude. So to be frank, I don't even know how I found this organization that I volunteer for. They just happened to be in the lineup. And so it's just to show you how things align when you're just doing what you feel compelled to do. And that comes a little bit later in the conversation. But I was just doing that. And then I got an email to go volunteer for, like I said, like urgent volunteer needed DC United soccer game. And I was like, what? So I did it. And then my whole family got to go to DC United for free and have one of the most VIP experiences that they have to offer there. Like I got a badge and everything. It was so cool. And then from there, volunteering with NASA, I got to tour the White House, like all of these different things because of this volunteer group that I wasn't even looking for, but it found me. It's like the perfect fit, and they have so many opportunities, and they're not pushy about it. They just send you a list of These are the things that we have available. This is what we need volunteers for. Does anybody want to do this? So I'm experiencing these really fantastic experiences for free, and I'm getting to volunteer in the community, which is something that enriches my soul. I get to be a part of the community, so I'm just excited and thankful to have these opportunities and experiences that I'm having, all thanks to this organization. So, but I found that we found each other by accident because I was doing my outreach, which felt right. So another major thing that I have implemented, which has given me more energy in my life and in my day, is I really do what I'm called and compelled to do. It occurred to me that plants grow, and I'm a huge listener of Jim Rohn, and I have a bone to pick with some of people on YouTube who keep pretending to be Jim with your freaking AI. Jim didn't talk about ancient stuff in his recordings. Talking about, the ancestors. He didn't say that. That wasn't him. You can't fool me. You did fool me at first until that one video was talking about some ancient ancestors and ancient technology. I don't know if he believed in that, but he wasn't going on out here saying that. I've never, because I paid for his conversations, I've never come across something that I paid for from Jim where I'm talking about I went to the sages and the mountains. Goodness. Because I'm a big into him. But anyway, he said that you need the sunshine and the rain and the soil to take care of whatever it is that you grow. But you don't provide that. You provide the protection. You provide the space and area and opportunity to grow when it comes to a plant. But it also really, from that motto, it really occurred to me that the plant grows organically. The plant just happens to fruit at the right time. And as I have become more cognizant and aware and selective of how I live my life, and I've added more things on my agenda to do, serendipitous things have just started to occur more and more often, to the point where I'm like, okay, so just keep doing these things. And I have to preface this by saying, I have a lot of free time because of the lifestyle that I particularly live. I don't have children. I don't have a significant other. I am a free bird with a supportive family. And I'm very, very blessed and thankful to have that, and I appreciate and I do my best to show my appreciation in as many ways as I can, and I can still improve on that as well. So this might not be the reality for everyone, but the point is that if you can find one way, no matter how small it may appear at first to be, to take a step and do something that makes you feel good, that enriches your way of being, you will have slightly more energy next week than you did this week. And then from there, you might be able to add something else, and you might have slightly more energy. And that's how I've always been able to, people say, how do you do so much? It's because I believe that in life, we're training, we're learning. And just like in college, when I went to college the first year, I was like, okay, for this first semester, I'm not going to join any clubs. You couldn't anyway, but I was like, I'm not going to join any clubs. I'm not going to, granted, I was still practicing so that I could become a cheerleader, which I did. But I was like, okay, first let me just get my bearings, because I'm on academic scholarship. And so I want my scholarship to stay. So I was like, okay, let me balance this. So before I got involved in adulting, I had to be able to balance adulting, because that's a huge change in life. And so we'll get into that. But I had to get comfortable being an adult, or what some level of adultingness, of being a job person, So Then I got comfortable with that. Then I was like, okay, well now how can I add something to this? And it's uncomfortable to some level, but you get used to being uncomfortable, and the uncomfort starts to be less and less and less. Like the first time you take yourself out alone, it's definitely more uncomfortable. So I wouldn't say go to dinner your first day or go to lunch your first date with yourself. Go somewhere that you feel comfortable with, that you're used to going, that feels good, like somewhere outdoors where there's people everywhere, so you're not completely by yourself, but it's not an odd place to be alone. People walk around the lake all the time by themselves. You might not want to go to a lake. You might want to go to a man-made pond where there's a lot of people, so you know you're not by yourself, so you don't feel like, oh man, I'm in the middle of the woods. Or you don't feel awkward because you're like, oh man, I'm at this restaurant and I'm the only person by myself. If I were to plan my first date with myself, I would make it really simple. I would go to like Kava or somewhere, this is just my personal thing. I would go get me a bowl or something. I would stop by a grocery store and get a coloring book and some markers or some crayons or notebook and a pen. Just like plan it out. I would get a yoga mat or something to put on the ground, and then just sit down at the park at a body of water, a man-made body of water, because then you have full clarity and vision of everything else around you. Typically sit there on a Saturday morning time, so maybe get there at like 10 o'clock a.m. or if I'm doing like kava or maybe a tropical smoothie, or get some ice cream at Cold Stone. I usually get Cold Stone after if I do that, because I'd like to sit outside and watch people. But so yeah, I would give myself something to eat, give myself something to do, and give myself somewhere to sit. And sit wherever, because at certain parks, like depending on if there's other people there, you might not want to like sit there. And I like to lay down, I like to get comfortable when I'm out at the park or something. And so yeah, that's what I would do. And I would just sit with myself and people watch. And if you feel like saying hello, say hello. If you don't, sit a little bit further back so it's not awkward. But if you sit by the walking path, you have to know that people are going to look at you when they walk past. And I think it's great. I love interacting with people. So yeah, that's what I would do. And if that's the only thing you can do right now, or literally just go to the park for free and don't spend any money, don't do anything, whatever it is that you can do that will give yourself a little bit more joy today, right now, it will increase your confidence, number one. It will increase your happiness, number two, especially if you get to be outside and you're breathing in that fresh air. So I highly recommend to take yourself out. And in my opinion, and from my experience, how you treat yourself really will impact how everyone else treats you. So if you are able to prioritize yourself, if you are able to make yourself, how can I put this? To make yourself a priority, like I already said, but if you are able to take yourself to that next level to where you do not feel bogged down when it comes to life. Because if we are not in the driver's seat, you will crash. And I mean that to say, as a visual, think about you as a glass cup, and there's a faucet of muck always coming down, because that is the world. And hear me when I say this, because the world loves everything, but lives. So that is social media, that is the news, that is your hating cousin, that is your self-doubts, that is the subliminal programming from music, that is the TV, that is all of those things just pouring into you. There has to be another glass of clear water all pouring in, and then pouring in more so that the muck can't stay very long. You have to be able to pour more purified, clean, spring, alkaline, whatever type of water you drink. I don't know. Gatorade, whatever you're pouring into yourself, it has to be more than what the external is pouring into you. So what you can also do what I also started to do was I started to replace those habits. I got into a space where they were like, okay, reading makes a difference in your life, listening to things makes a difference in your life, and activities and appreciation, all that stuff makes a difference. So and you can watch like earlier videos from this particular channel, because I've been documenting the experience of really, really being mindful of my life. And I started to stop doing certain things as well. Like before I started really adding, but I always like took myself out on dates, and I was painting for a long time. So you get what I'm saying? It was like a balance, but I really, really, really became aware of what I was intaking, what I was listening to. So now, today, I listen to music when there's other people in the car. Sometimes lyrical music is what I mean. And I listen to like 1 or 2 songs a day, if that, because sometimes like if I'm driving, a song will pop into my head, and so I like want to hear that song, so I'll listen to it then. But typically I'm listening to like classical music now, to be frank, or I'm listening to a book, or I'm listening to a lecture or motivational speech, or some drama, like from Sloan or Tissa Tales, or it might be that. I'm not gonna sit up here and cap, but it also might be my man's Jim Ron, or Rev Ike, or Florence Scovel Shin. Those 3 are my top, but Jim Ron for me is like he's my favorite, and Florence Scovel Shin and Rev Ike are definitely up there too. But yeah, I think it's great. And I think like when you take control of your life, there are crazy things that can happen and things that it takes time, but I have so much more energy now than I did before. So I just wanted to say that, like, you're not stuck. You don't have to be somewhere and deal with things you don't like. Sometimes it just takes that courage. And the uncomfortable thing, like I said, start small. Start with changing the music you listen to. Start with really listening to the lyrics, and think about, like, do you want this to be reflective in your life? And maybe stop watching so much news, and stop paying so much attention to the outside world, and fix what you have going on. Because there was this really profound piece of literature or verbiage that I came across, but I believe I heard it from Kevin Trudeau, who heard it from someone else. And I'll leave us with this. Because I started joining clubs and stuff too, so there's that. I'm in like so many clubs now. It's like, and I started with virtual clubs, like the Global Information Network from Kevin Trudeau, and then what is this thing? The Real World with They Who Shall Not Be Named, the Tate brothers and stuff. And listen, I don't agree with how everybody does things, and I don't know the truth, but what I do know is that everybody has information that can be utilized. Then I started being a part of Amanda Francis community. So I just started doing virtual clubs, and then I started doing like in-person, like I'm just into my in-person club thing. So anyway, so with the Kevin Trudeau thing, he said that there was this man, and he was on his crossover bed, his unalivement bed, I guess you could say, because he was transitioning, and him and this lady were having a conversation. And somehow the topic of your biggest regret came up, or your biggest, I hate to use the word regret, but your biggest point of learning now from hindsight of where you are in your whole life. And so he said that when he was a child, he wanted, who knows if the story really happened, but whatever. But when he was a child, he wanted to save the world. Okay, he wanted to be a superhero. And as he got older, he realized that you can't really save everybody in the entire world. So as a teenager, he thought, you know what? Well, I'm going to save everyone in my country. And he focused on trying to save everyone in his country, and then that didn't really work either. So then he was like, you know what? I'm going to just help everyone in my state. When he was a young adult, so he focused and dedicated his life to helping everyone in his state. But over this time, he realized that he wasn't necessarily improving as much either. So then he was like, you know what? I can't save everyone in my state, so I'm going to try to save everyone in my family as a older adult. So he spent his whole older adult years trying to save everyone in his family. And then when he was on his bed, I hate to say, like, you know, passing on bed in the hospital, like it's a real older dude, it's an old guy, a seasoned gentleman. He was like, you know what? If I would have focused more on saving myself, perhaps I would be better for those in my family, in my household. And then with the support of those in my family, in my household, I could be better for my state, and I could help my state. And then perhaps with the support of myself, because I know who I am, I'm confident in my abilities, I'm a self-starter, I'm ambitious, I get stuff done, and I'm happy. Then, and the support of my family and the support of my state, perhaps I could have been a great support and help support and save my country. And then with the support of all that in my country, you see how the compound interest works even in life? Money is a great way to learn about the actual world around you as well, because a lot of things that happen in finance can be directly related to things that happen in your day-to-day life. But with the compound interest from the support from himself, from family, from state, from country, perhaps he could have made a change in the great world as well. So all that to say is, once you can really like just do things to focus on yourself and help yourself first, that's why in the airplanes they say to put the mask on yourself first, then you can be better for everyone else. But if you are focused only on being better for everybody else and you forget yourself, how can you be the best for everyone when you can't even be the best you? You know, that's the easy way to get lost. So busy focused on how I can be better for this next person. Be better for yourself, and then you don't have to think about how you can be better for the next person because you're already better. And so then everything around you becomes better anyway. And it's never too late to say, you know what, I'm going to work on me. I'm going to become the best me I can be. And then before you know it, you realize that you can inspire other people to become better versions of themselves. So really, by becoming the best version of you that you can be, you really do impact those around you directly and indirectly based on the fact that you're happier. You have more energy. You have more time to do things. Suddenly, your day doesn't just go by and it's work and home and sleep. It's work and home and sleep and this and this and that, because you have chosen to make those incremental steps. And it's not an overnight change, but it's also not impossible. As Jim Rohn says, there are things in life that are easy, not because they're not challenging to do, but because they are in your capacity and you are capable of doing those things. So that's where I'll leave you off with. I'll see you next week, perhaps.